Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Proto, and as Steve told you, I am the Global Director of Media at Luxottica, overseeing Sunglass Hut as well as some of our other sun retail brands. But I actually made a change to my slide last night because after talking to some people, I realized it's usually a 50-50 shot when I say I work for Luxottica of people knowing exactly who we are and people doing that nod of, oh yeah, Luxottica, and having no idea. So Luxottica is one of the largest eyewear companies in the world. This is just a few of the brands that we own, whether we own the brand, the retailer, or the license to the eyewear that they make, both frames as well as the lenses now with our merger with Essilor. So quite a large portfolio. It's always a fun game when I come to these and I look at the glasses everyone is wearing or the sunglasses, and it's kind of fun. If anyone here is wearing Gooder, at some point I'm going to come up to you and tell you, no, we got to get you in a pair of Ray-Bans. So diving right in. So as we're talking about here, I think, when you think about linear TV and connected TV, there's always that sigh of linear TV, especially when we're at a data and programmatic summit. You always get the same reaction. Linear TV, it's a stale script right now. And what we have been talking about is we're having the same story year over year over year, but everything else in the market has been moving along. So we know linear TV is expensive and the process is incredibly long. The costs just seem to be going up year over year. However, the process is pulled out earlier and earlier. You're having the upfronts happen months earlier than they've had in the past, and they want the commitments further in advance. However, the ability to see how your TV and market and connected TV and market is happening is a much longer process as well. So an example here is right now, we had to commit to our upfront dollars for next year for 2024, but I have no idea how my TV investment for 2023 did. And that's really frustrating, especially understanding how much it costs to be able to do this. But we, as an advertiser, and I know many other brands, we know it works. When it's in market, we do see lift, we see incrementality, we see higher traffic in store, we see higher traffic on e-com. Our branded search always has a spike, but we have to do that very manually. We're taking multiple data sources and having to layer them on each other and really hope that we're making a story that is accurate, but there really hasn't been a solution up until this point for us to be able to really show that. So as I'm getting at, quantifying this investment in linear TV and connected TV has remained limited. Traditional reporting really works on delivery, reach, and frequency, which is great. And up until, the last couple of years, that has been the standard for TV. But as we're in a climate that we're in right now, especially coming out of COVID, the economic climate we're in, management needs more. They need more that is related to actual business metrics. So for Sunglass Hut here, the case study that I'm kind of walking you guys through is we noticed, obviously, with all that in mind, there's a plot hole here. Video investments, linear TV and connected TV, during our peak season for Sunglass Hut, that is the summer, it is one of our largest investments. However, the costs have continued to rise, like I said. The viewership continues to change and become more fragmented as more players come into the space. I mean, this time last year, Netflix did not have their paid tier solution yet. Disney Plus did not have a paid tier solution. I feel like every month, someone else is bringing a new advertising and connected TV solution. You now have the TV networks that are moving into the conversation of currency, which we could have a whole day's conversation about as well. So there's a lot happening. We're spending so much money here, and it's still so incredibly fragmented. And our conversations as a business have moved more from media metrics, and as Steve said, I did come from an agency background where those media metrics were always incredibly important, but now we are moving to business conversations only. And the inability to start reporting on these investments in linear and in connected TV in relation to not having it be related to business metrics has made our executive leadership start to question the efficacy of this tactic. And like I said, there was quite a few things we were doing in terms of layering our data, combining them, trying to make a story, but it wasn't enough. And it's really caused this broken link in our chain here where we want to keep investing, we know it works, but we needed a way or a solution to start actually proving that out. So the show must go on, and we had to find that solution. So we went through quite a bit over the last couple years of trying to really set this data infrastructure in place. The first thing we did is we went and found our partners that we had established relationships with, as well as also audited quite a few foot traffic measurement partners. So our main objective for Sunglass Hut specifically for this case study is traffic to brick and mortar. If I can get them through that store location, our sales associates are some of the best in the business. They can get them to convert. But of course, as we know, being able to take a very top-line medium like linear TV and connected TV and connect it to someone physically walking through that threshold of a store, it's very difficult. So we did an audit of 3 foot traffic partners. We had all of them run at the same time, so a true test. And then when we got the outputs, we layered them against our own foot traffic data. We have a tracker in each store to see who had the closest level of accuracy. So that was step 1 of us being able to establish that foot traffic partner. For the last 4 years now, we've actually run those, of course, with digital, and we know foot traffic measurement with digital has become incredibly involved. So we started to have that relationship. That's one side of this puzzle. Then when we think about the linear and connected TV perspective here, we wanted to find a partner who we had an established relationship with, who we were doing media activation with, not measurement at the time, using specifically television and OTT data. So being able to target based on households for TV and connected TV exposure. So we had a longstanding relationship from a media activation standpoint at that time with VideoAmp. So we approached them and said, we really are interested in this measurement solution. We know it's something that you guys have been working on. You're having continued conversations with the networks to grow this breadth of your product. We want to see if we can get you in a room with the partner, the foot traffic partner that we did select was Cubic, and play nice in the sandbox. We need you guys to figure out a way to take your 2 data sets, layer them, deduplicate them, so that we can start being able to see foot traffic exposure for linear and connected TV exposure. And, it's always nice when you want to get multiple vendors, for any of my brands here, and in a room and say, please work together, we're begging you. We know you think you have an all-in-one solution, but here we do need multiple parties. And everyone was wonderful. We had quite a few meetings, really built those connections. And the 2 of them working together, of course, they are the experts. We're able to come up with a solution utilizing through, of course, LiveRamp, where we were able to take that data, like I said, layer it, deduplicate it, and start to see actual performance for what we were running from a linear and connected TV perspective on foot traffic. So I have a couple screenshots here that I can show you guys, and of course there's roundtables, and during the week, if we want to talk, I'd be happy to sit and kind of walk you guys through what we see in our dashboards. And of course there are some information here that is blacked out, proprietary for us. But really we started to have this dashboard, and what it's done is we are able to see much more in real time. Of course, TV is not exactly real time, but right now we have a 14-day look back, so that's of course better than the 90 days we were seeing, where we could start to see on a network, program, day part, streaming platform, all of those levels built down actual conversion metrics, which for us, we are counting conversion as foot traffic, but of course, in this dashboard, we're able to see online checkouts based on a pixel solution. As you talked about, we have Pixel Mania on our websites, as well as landing page visits. So we were able to really start building this story about what were these investments doing while we were in market. So here you have a couple examples of kind of what we're seeing out of our dashboard, but you're able to see on a day perspective, our investment levels, our weight levels, our conversion rating for those days, our cost per conversion. So I'm able to start seeing and really start plotting these trends about, we know, TV does have both short-term and long-term effects. So if I had a TV, my TV flight launched 5/25, and I started to see effects 3 weeks later, we're able to start to really see what that exposure and consumer decision journey was starting to look like from an attribution standpoint. We also get down, as you can see here, down to the network level. This has really come in handy, and I'm gonna steal my thunder from the last slide, of us now being able to have a more informed conversation going into next year's upfront, which we just committed to. We're able to start seeing exactly which networks, exactly which day parts, exactly which programs in those networks are driving our most efficient cost per store visit. And of course, when we're in a climate right now where our management, based on where we are sales-wise, is saying, we need to drive more, we need to drive more, we need to drive more. You know, a lot of brands, we are coming out of that post-COVID. We're seeing declines. We're starting to make it up. Summer happened a little later this year. Those are very hard conversations. And up until this year, we were really kind of flying blind on trying to tell them, we know TV is working. You have to trust us. We had marketing mix models in market that we did, but of course, marketing mix models are done further in advance. It's not as quick of a output that we're able to see. So, and of course, while we were in market, I wasn't getting my TV data until 90 days post. So even then, I wasn't able to tell them exactly what we're doing right now, what our investment this week is doing for us. So this allowed us to be much better armed to have those conversations and really support the efficacy of connected TV and linear TV. On the next slide, you see it also goes down to the connected TV streaming services as well. The platform also, this is just, I have pulled a couple screenshots, but I will tell you the platform that we are working in with them, this is the Video Amp dashboard, is able to drill down also on an audience level. So we are not only looking at, as we know historically, we've driven from a linear perspective, you can only buy age and demo. We are, of course, moving into a more advanced audience targeting linear and connected TV climate moving forward, but we are now able to also see our exact audience data. We've built these segments with them, and I can see for our audience segment, our everyday icon, the Bravo does really well. This data and this dashboard allowed me to see those things. But prior to that, I would have only seen how many GRPs Bravo delivered. I wouldn't have been able to see that network specifically and program specifically was driving store traffic for us as a brand. So this is the sort of data that has helped us start having these more informed conversations with our management and really start supporting the role that top of funnel video, it is, you know, we position it as top of funnel, but it is in fact driving actual business performance for us, bottom level, bottom funnel performance. So all of that data, what has it done for us? I mean, I kind of have gone into most of this, but one, it's allowed real-time reporting. It has made it much easier for myself and my team to go into conversations with our management and say, we promise we're not just wasting your money. We're not just throwing money into the TV and connected TV landscape, so showing these videos. And of course, we know storytelling works, but I'm not wasting your dollars. We've been able to, in real time, have those conversations, support our investment. It's made it much easier. It's also created a level of trust with our management of knowing we are speaking data first. Of course, we know with what we do in media, it is a mix of arts and science. And this morning's presentation, we talked about both the psychological and the data, and you do need to play into both of those. But from our management perspective, this has made all the difference. In addition, it's allowed us to start refining and innovating. So as I kind of touched on, we know the TV and connected TV landscape is heavily changing going into this year, 2024 and 2025, with the introduction, of course, new TV currency and ability to buy on advanced audiences. So by having this infrastructure in place and really being able to quantify for the last 2 years what we've been doing, we are now able to go into the 2024 upfront much more informed. We are moving forward with data-driven linear with the networks that we've seen have driven the largest amount of foot traffic and the most efficient cost per store visit for us. So we are going in much more informed, and we are able to do that during the actual upfront versus historically. Of course, we weren't getting our delivery metrics until 90 days after our flight. By that point, we had to already commit. And it's very hard, of course, as you guys know, once you commit in the upfront to start changing what you're doing after the fact. So it's allowed us to be much more informed in the decisions that we're making. And that is that.
Really, really interesting, Caroline. Questions?
Hi there, Alberto Aceves from Nexon. Just based on personal experience, buying sunglasses has always been an impulse decision. Have you done any sort of consumer path to purchase, and is it an impulse? And is that what's actually shaping the way you're approaching your funnel?
twofold question there. I think we did recently just actually do an audience analysis on our revised consumer decision journey, because I think if you look at it over the last 3 to 5 years, it has changed. You were seeing a lot of course, impulse shoppers happening during and after the pandemic. People had a little bit of extra cash. We were seeing a lot of the stimulus checks actually benefit. And I was talking to some advertisers at the retail summit, and they were seeing the same things. It's a mix. We are starting to see actually more planned purchases, especially coming, I think, this year. We're seeing with travel picking up. We've seen a lot of research come into that people were doing travel prep, especially when we think about our younger consumer, who we have been working to build that relationship with, because we are a 52-year-old brand in the United States. So with the older generation, they are aware of us. We have high awareness levels. The younger generation, there are more options. So we are having to do a bit more plan work versus that impulse shopper who's walking through the mall and they're like, oh crap, I forgot sunglasses. Or when you're at the airport, I was actually walking through the airport to come here, and we are right after security. And I think it's such a smart business decision, because we've all been there where you're in the line for security and you're like, crap, I forgot my sunglasses. It's the first thing you see when you get out. You're in that happy mood. You're like, and my vacation's starting. So we are seeing both, but we are definitely starting to see more of the planned approach, which has required us to do, I think, a timing restructure of when we're running. We are looking at pulling up a little earlier so that we are top of mind when they are starting that planning process. So when they hit the impulse point, we are already there for them.
Ben Havanas, Omnicom. First, great presentation. Your GIF game is outstanding. I really appreciate it.
I tried to keep it a little interesting.
No,
no one wants to look at just pictures of data.
It was great. So I had 2 questions for you. So the first is about buying models, because as I'm sure you know really well, most of the CTV inventory that's up for sale is still direct sold, and there are a lot of trade-offs between what you can do there and what you can do programmatically. So love to hear about your thinking there. And then the second part is, do you think at all about the compositional differences between people who are watching like ad-free Max versus ad-supported Max, and like how does that interact with all the different price points where you find yourself at, right? Because like just off the top of my head, maybe someone who's in the market for a $600 pair of Gucci sunglasses or whatever would be someone with the means to not see ads in a service like Max or Netflix, or take your pick. You get the idea.
Yeah, those are 2 great questions. So the first, I'll answer the first one. So programmatic versus direct, I definitely think this is a market that is in category that's still continuing to evolve, because yes, many of them are still definitely focusing on the direct, and I think especially we try to take dual approach. So what we do in the upfront a year in advance is everything with direct, and that's really on the network level. And when we think about then how we're expanding our presence during the actual broadcast year, we are taking a more programmatic approach to really kind of create that baseline layer and then supplement it with additional impact with the programmatic layer. And in addition, what this tool has been able to let us do now is also monitor frequency across all, because there's nothing worse. We have all been there on Hulu when you get the same ad 7 times during the same program, even though they swear they have a 4-time frequency cap. This allows us to start actually seeing that as well, since we are buying them as 2 separate models. In terms of the pricing question, I think one of the benefits of us as a retailer, and this is my answer is actually not going to be so much about media here, is that we do have a price point for everyone. So it allows us to be able to, we have lower price point products. We have what we call our fast fashion luxury brands, like an Arnett or a Vogue, who are usually $100 or less in store, as well as we always have our clearance section, as well as we go all the way up to exactly what you're saying, Chanel, Gucci, Dior. With what we're doing from a video perspective and the ad tiers, absolutely, there's a chance that they are not a consumer that, they're able to afford a no ad tier. Totally fine, but it allows us now having this, and what I walked you through here and the screenshots I showed have just our linear and CTV, but we measure everything in this platform. So it allows us to start seeing, based on certain consumers, where they are watching, what is our reach and frequency, and start doing our messaging accordingly. And I may take a Prada ad, and maybe I'm not focusing on Prada here in that ad tier solution. I may be focusing on some of my different products, my lower price point products, but on a fashion endemic publisher that speaks a little bit more to that luxury consumer, that may be where I'm creating that connection with them.
Hi, my name is Sydney Van Blaricum. I'm with AdTheorent. Enjoyed that.
We work with you guys quite a bit.
Yep. I also cut my teeth building your media plans for NBCU back in the day. so I spent a lot of time with Exotica. I find that the TV landscape tends to be very stubborn, and this is really great to see how you're requiring culpability on top of all of your linear buys, whether that's through OTT or not. Did you find that it was difficult internally to move your teams beyond the reach conversations? And when you're speaking with the publishers, are they embracing the foot traffic and going beyond just the reach and the GRPs? Because in my conversations, we have all this data and ability to add culpability, but it's just doesn't seem to be embraced. And the way you're speaking about it, it's not the same conversation I'm having across the board.
If you had asked me this question in January of 2022, my answer would be very different. And I would absolutely agree with you that it was a struggle. Internally with our management, they were always very on board with this conversation because, of course, we are a brand. They want to speak in business objectives, and reach and frequency and GRPs are wonderful, and we had to get across to them that up until recently this was the only option, but the marketplace is moving at such a speed now that we are able to have these more advanced conversations. So internally, very easy. On the level of the networks, again, in January of 2022, very different answer here. It was like pulling teeth, and that's why I had that gif of playing nice in the sandbox. It did require a lot of relationship building, and I think now we are in a place that the networks have understood that there's not really an option of not moving in a more advanced direction, especially with the unaccreditation of the Nielsen ratings, and have multiple players in the space that are going after this advanced audience approach. The networks have been much more willing to have these conversations because I think they now understand there is opportunity for incrementality in their revenue if they do this correctly. Because of course now I have been able to prove, NBCU is a great example, they did really well for us. We've now increased our investment for next year. So that ability to quantify what they are doing for a business, if they are confident in their product, it does leave room for them to potentially grow the relationship, and that is where the conversations have headed.
Caroline, that was killer. We're going to extend this in the roundtable on CTV at the end of the morning, but please thank Caroline Proto.